Welcome back to the second video for adding roles and assigning roles to a user. In my previous video, I showed you the application and how everything works. And in this video, I will pretty much explain the code and explain what you need to add to your application in order to have these views available to you. All right, so now let's get started, and it's going to be pretty fast. Again, feel free to pause the video. First thing you need to do is pretty much add a new controller. Go into your controllers, create a new controller, and call it whatever you want to call it. I called mine role controller. And in this role controller, I have three methods. The first one is going to be the index for my index view. And the second one is the create get and the create post. I have an object here. I created an instance of my application DB context, instantiated that object here, and I'm using this object to create a list, to assign a list of roles to this variable, and then displaying that to the index view. And in here, I'm just pretty much creating, adding, saving the role. Okay, once you have this controller, another part you need to do is pretty much create the views. The first view you're going to create is the index view. Then I'm sorry, that was in the wrong controller. We're going to create the index view and create and assign role to user view. Okay, so index view is pretty simple. We have two links, one to create a role, another one to assign a role to a user. They're both going to a different controller. The create a role is going to the method create in the role controller with the one that we just created. And the second link is going to register role in the account controller. I created this method in the account controller. We'll go into that right now. And here I just have just a table, just displaying the list of roles. Pretty simple. The create, again, it's pretty simple as well. We just have a form for the name. And it's pretty much where you type admin, super user, whatever. That's all it is for create. And for assign to user, we have a form, and we have a drop-down list that has all the users. I want to show you where we created this list next. Okay, and all this is coming from, well, this is not coming from anywhere, but on the create, we're using the identity. Just make sure you copy this as it is. Okay, so now that we have that in place, let's go ahead and go into the models first. Go into the view, account view model, and go ahead and under register view model, go ahead and add this property. The reason why we're adding this property is because this is the property where we are storing the drop-down list for the roles. Okay, and I'll explain a little bit more about this. Let's go ahead and add this portion. After you do that, let's go ahead and go to the account controller. Under the account controller, I added two methods, one get and one post, and I put it right under the register methods. So I call it register role and register role post, get and post. So the get, what I'm doing right here is pretty much I'm calling my application DB context to access my tables in the database. Pretty much these tables right here. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a select list for the drop down. This is the area that I was talking about. We created a property in the accounts view model and we call it name, and now we're using that to create a list of roles, and we're gonna make this list available to the view. We're using the view bag namespace there, and we are creating another select list of users, and we are assigning that to this variable right here. This is under the application user model, and we already have a property called username, so I just reuse that one. Sure, you have these names right when you display it to the view. So just remember this right here are going to be being displayed in the view, and they have to match. For the register role method, what I'm doing is I am passing the register view model instance or variable and application user variable from a form that we created in the accounts view controller. Okay, so before I explain this, let's go ahead and look at the form that we're going to be using that to create these roles, to register these roles. So when we submit on the form, we're going to hit this method. So I create a view under the accounts folder and I called it register role. This is all the code that you need. It's not complicated. Simply, it's going to the account controller, the register role method, and pretty much what we're doing is we're just displaying a drop-down list for the users and for the roles. Remember these two names? I remember I mentioned that they have to match. These two names are the list that we are creating in the account controller, which are right here, name and username. We're being passed to the view using view bag. And let's go back to register. Right here. That's the only thing I'm displaying, two drop downs. When we submit this form, it's going to be sent to the account controller register method, which is this one, the post right here. So when that happens, we're going to pass the role and we're going to pass the user information, the username or the email that we select from the drop-down list. On this variable right here, what I'm doing is I am accessing the database, the tables, getting all the users, and we're gonna find the user ID where username equals username that we are selecting from the drop-down. We're gonna assign it to this variable, and then we need to loop through this variable because it's an queryable. So that's why I created a temp variable right here, string variable, and we're looping through this variable right here, and I'm just assigning the value and converting that value to a string and passing that to this new temporary variable. Then we use this variable to add the role. So we pass the role, the ID, and we pass the name, which the name in this case is the role, which is admin, super user, whatever. If successful, it's going to be sending you to the index page. I don't think I'm missing anything else. I think that's pretty much what you need to write. So again, nothing else we just need a register. We need just a recap. We need a new controller. We need to add a property right here to the account view model. We need to go to the account controller and add the two methods. I believe I already mentioned that, but please remember to add these two methods. We're going to go into the views account folder and create add a view for register role, and we're gonna paste this or add this code. Pretty much this is only 2 drop downs where you select the role and the email for the users that you want to assign. After that, you're gonna go into you're gonna have under your role and under your views, and within the role folder, you're gonna have an index with all this code. Review, we're gonna have a create, all this code, and we're gonna have assign to user, all this. And the last thing will be just to go into your layout and pretty much just add a link. That's the link that you see on the top of close to the navigation. You click here and it's going to send you to the roles controller index page. And I think that's it. That's pretty much it. Please feel free to comment below. I am not an expert, but I think this will be very useful for, especially for college students that are starting in developing web applications. So I believe it will be very useful. I know there are other ways to add roles, but I think this way it's very interactive, very intuitive. There's ways to add roles using Entity Framework. I will post a video soon showing you guys how to do that. Really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you into the next.